And then Wellbore. So as you can see, for the Wellbore, this is very important if you are interested in extrapolating the wellhead pressure down to the bottom hole pressure using the software. You can use this one. Okay. Actually, you need to provide the information for well configuration. In this case, the production casing, the bottom depth, the inner diameter, and the roughness. It's quite basic. And this is for the casing and the tubing. Okay, the end of the tubing, the ID inner diameter of the tubing, it's quite big, 3.958 inches. Outer diameter, 4.5, and the roughness. And then perforated interval. So as you can see, top depth at 9,572, bottom depth at 9,722. So the perforation interval is quite long. Okay, and then the flow proportion 100% from this interval. Okay, and then pressure loss calculation, flow path tubing, correlation gray because it's a gas well. So, and it is in this case the water is not too excessive. So hopefully we can use gray quite accurately in this calculation. And the datum depth, okay. Excess pressure drop maybe from other sources. By default we will input 0. Okay, so if you see here, extra pressure difference added to computed bottom hole pressure. And if you have gauge, you can also input the depth here. Maybe you put the gauge at the end of your tubing. So by knowing the distance between the gauge depth and the sand face and the datum depth, the software can extrapolate the pressure or the temperature obtained in the gauge depth, extrapolated down to the bottom hole or the sand face or datum depth. Okay, so this is very important, the wellbore, and then the temperature. Usually it is sufficient, wellhead temperature and then sand face temperature, so that the temperature profile will be estimated to be linear profile, starting from the wellhead pressure down to the sand face temperature. I mean wellhead temperature down to sand face temperature. This is the schematic. You see the Christmas tree, the wellhead at 0 depth down to this datum depth in true vertical depth in TVD. Deviation survey, okay. You can input if you have vertical well or deviated well or horizontal well. Okay, you can add configuration, you can delete configuration. If you want to perform liquid loading calculation, here by clicking this button, correlation can be Turner or Coleman, or maybe you have another correlation. You can use user define C value. Okay, you can read the literature about the Turner correlation. You know that there is a C factor there. Liquid type can be water or condensate, but for more conservative approach, it is better if we select water. And then calculate critical liquid rate at end of tubing or at datum. Usually we prefer at datum, okay? But I will skip it. And this one, calculate sand face pressure. So if you have the wellhead pressure, wellhead pressure and the flow correlation and the tubing or the well configuration, then the sand face pressure will be calculated by the harmony. Okay, but in this case, I've calculated the sand face pressure using another software, and I just copy and pasted the data here. Okay, so I will not use this one. This is just to toggle name and date. Okay. Properties done, Wellbore done, production already, static pressure.